Hi, James. So I'm sitting here with your session plan in front of me, and I'll just give you a bit. I'll just go through it and give you a bit of feedback. So I thought your problem statement is focused and great. Whenever you're focusing on the clarification stage, you want to make really clear to the participants up front that that is what you're doing, so that they don't expect that they will get the solution out of the session. And so it just means explaining up front that this is a really big problem, and that, you might use one of the quotes, around the importance of understanding a problem before solving it. And so that the goal for today is just to start to unpack the problem, not to come to a solution, so that then they will know what to expect in the session and won't necessarily expect solutions. So great job getting people to do this work up front, and I'll be very curious about what comes up. Introduction, warm up, 15 minutes. So I thought you were packing a lot into the introduction. So you're welcoming them, reviewing timing and agenda. Great. Reviewing the consent forms. Great. Then asking them to share their pre-work and draw it on the board. So I'm assuming that what you're asking is for them to draw their visions on the board of what success looks like. So I think that's a great idea, and I can't remember how many participants you have, but people will draw, then they'll want to describe what they drew, right? So this will take time. So I think kind of putting this into the 15 minutes with all the prep, along with the discussion of the IDEO video, is over ambitious. So you might want to extend the time or cut, since I know that timelines might already be a concern. So, in terms of the IDEO video, you'll want to think about what questions you'll ask them. Instead of just asking, what did you think? What's your goal in showing that video? Are you trying to give them an idea of how you might work together on that day? And if so, you might want to focus that question, like, what does this tell you around how we might work together today? Or are you looking at this for more generally, how you're thinking you might work together? So, depending on what your goal is in using the video, that will change sort of how you focus them. So, for example, I just used that video actually last week in class with my BComs, and my goal was not at all creativity focused, even though clearly you can't watch that video without getting a sense of creative process. It was around criteria, the importance of criteria and things like that. So, so just make sure that that you're focused in what you're hoping to get out of that discussion, because this could very easily go over time. It's sort of interesting, everyone to talk about their drawings, but 15 minutes is tight. So the next 15 minutes. Okay, so then you're going into CPS. Now, if you've just talked about the IDEO video, you'll probably want to explicitly link the IDEO video to CPS to show them that it's the same thing. So, you could say to them, so for example, assessing the situation in CPS is like what they do when in the IDEO video they go out and find the and talk to the shopping cart people. Clarifying the challenge is when they were trying to figure out what exactly is the current problem with shopping carts, and they were saying, okay, we need to focus on safety, we need to focus on all the elements they focused on, right? I think it was safety, shopping, whatever it was. Transformation is then when they come to the solution and develop the new cart. Implementation is when they go to the store and say, okay, could we put this in the store? What would it look like? So just so that, because what you're doing up front is you're introducing them to two different models, and so you want to make sure that the connection between them is clear so that they're not confused. Okay, so review the data from the pre-work. This is great, but again, if they start talking about everything they found, I set up one with the 5 W's, in their 5 W's and an H. This could take a lot of time. So it seems like you're being really ambitious in the first part, and I think you want to consider what exactly are your goals, so that you can keep it to timeline. Every single thing you're proposing is interesting, right? The IDEO video, the draw a picture, the doing the pre-work and then discussing it, but half an hour along with explaining CPS, it's really ambitious. Okay, so now let's go to exploring the vision. So great. I think that's a good exercise. You might want to think about how how you're tying that in with the fact that they already started exploring the vision when they talked about what success will look like. So how will you coordinate these two exercises so that they don't feel redundant, right? So they talked about it in Lino It, then they drew a picture, and now they're doing wouldn't it be nice if, and once again imagining what success looks like. So you might make some decisions here. You might decide that actually just discussing the picture, you might at this point introduce the pictures and say, okay, everyone draw a picture of what you think success will look like. From these pictures, can we draw out, can what can we articulate 10 different ideas around what you think success will look like? Sorry, I'm not being that clear now. I haven't completely formulated the idea, but I hope you get my point, which is that this is the third time you're asking them to envision, and so you want to think about how you want to consolidate and build on those exercises so that they're not redundant. Webbing. So Simona pointed this out. With webbing, you definitely want a problem statement to begin with. So by default, you could begin your web with your problem statement. How might South Vancouver Island District improve the career advancement success? So you imagine, why do we want this to happen? Well, we want to solve this problem because people will stay with us longer. We'll become known as an employer of choice. All those things. When you go up the web, there is again some overlap with exploring the vision. Probably when you're exploring the vision and what success will look like, it will be that people will stay with you longer. So you might make the choice to not move up the web, but just move down if you feel that will have already been covered. So when you move down the web, then it will get really interesting. What's stopping this from happening? And then you'll sort of get into all the reasons that right now people don't feel that they can advance or they can't advance in their careers as easily as they might. So this is when now you're getting to taking this big problem where you want to go, and you're really focusing down on what specifically are the sub issues that are the challenges, because this is a big challenge and it will be helpful to unpack it. So it'll be really, really important to push divergence here and to get people to, what else will be important. You probably want to go down 2 levels on the web. I think it's great that you're practicing with your wife. That's awesome. And I think it's needed because clearly, you were with a master facilitator with Simona, and and it's great that you're putting that practice in before you go into the session. In terms of I don't think you'll have time to develop a BHAG. You might, but more realistic is that you could, just because it can be tricky, right? So, so if you were going to focus there after exploring the vision, when you have your wouldn't it be nice if, wouldn't you be awful if, so then you're converging and you have some common themes. You might not officially create a BHAG, but you might say, okay, so what are some things we know we want to achieve if we look into the future, right? And then close up the visioning by converging on either on a BHAG or something that's similar, or a less formal version of a BHAG, some kind of way that you're converging on the vision. Confirm next steps. Yes, I think that's great, especially when you're clarifying. It's really important to say, okay, now that we've analyzed and unpacked the problem, what's the next thing we're going to do? How do we then move into solving this problem? So that will be really important. In terms of your classmates' comments, yeah, I do think that the comment around the 2 hours is a valid concern, and then Simona's comment about what the middle of your problem statement, your web will be as well. So making sure that that's a challenge question in the middle of your web. And yeah, my only other question was, I love that you're doing it with your wife. That's a great idea. If you have any questions, please let me know. I know I sort of gave you a lot of information, and I didn't give you definitive answers, I more pointed out areas of concern like the overlap with the visioning and like the extended timelines, but I don't necessarily, I can see the possible areas of concern, but of course it's a creative process to know how to solve that. So let me know if I can help.